Hi, so today on Turning Points, we're going to be looking at the Battle of Hastings in 1066, a key moment which decided the course of English history. The army of King Harold had to face an invasion from William, Duke of Normandy, who landed an army on the south coast and started to head north. Now, King Harold had to just fend off another invasion in the north of England and finally defeated an invasion by the Norwegians at Stamford Bridge. So having won that battle, he then had to march his whole army south and face this new threat. So they squared up near the town of Hastings, and the army seemed to be about roughly evenly matched in terms of numbers, although it's very hard to tell from the sources what the actual numbers were. What we do know is the English army was pretty much all infantry, and the Norman army was about half archers and cavalry. The English army formed up in a defensive position on top of a ridge and essentially a long shield wall, a tried and tested Viking tactic, a large long wall of shields with spears pointing forwards. The Normans attacked. They started their attack with a barrage of arrows, then sent in the infantry and then the cavalry, but they couldn't break the line. But the one thing that did work is as the Normans fell back, and it may have been a feigned retreat or a genuine retreat, but in any case, when the English pursued them, they were out in the open and were cut down easily by the cavalry. So that did have the tendency to thin out the wall and weaken that English position. The turning point in the battle, famously, is when King Harold is killed, and it's a famous episode in English history. King Harold is killed by an arrow in the eye. Now, this idea comes from the Bayeux tapestry, and when you look at the tapestry, that scene is depicted. King Harold, the actual moment says King Harold is killed. When you look at that, there's two figures there, one pulling an arrow out of his eye and another, somebody with an axe being hacked down by a knight with a sword. As it turns out, the figure with the arrow, that arrow was added later in the 19th century. That figure originally had a spear in his hand, and it seems unlikely to me that the king would have a spear. He'd have a high status weapon like a sword or an axe. The other figure is a much more likely candidate for King Harold. So he's hacked down. In any case, it probably doesn't make a lot of difference to him at the time. He's hacked down. With the king dead, the army starts to fall apart. The Normans are able to finally break through that line. The English housecarls or knights stage a last stand around King Harold's body and are hacked down. The army flees the battlefield, and that's it. The Normans have won, and William becomes William the Conqueror, and the rest, as they say, is history.